We move on now to Friday the 13th, part 5, A New Beginning. Another Friday the 13th that is very, very polarizing.
Yes.
Yes. So the tagline for this one, if Jason still haunts you, you're not alone. Box office and release date information. Okay, so released on March 24th, 1985, a budget of 2.2 million, a gross of 21 million, 20 almost 22 million, and an opening weekend of 8 million. Worldwide, same thing, 21.9 million. I just want to say that this outgrossed Jason Lives, and I think that the reactions nowadays would be completely
I think
different.
maybe because they wanted to go see how he comes back to life since he pretty much dies for sure at the end of number 4.
Yeah, yeah. And part 5 did a lot of damage to what part 6 was trying to
Yeah.
correct, and times were changing. And anyways, part 5, go for it.
Okay. I think this film is a little underrated. I have it number 6, right in the middle. Some of the good parts, some great kills, very inventive. They really hit the mark with the kills here. I love Tina's kill with the hedge clippers when, she just got done making friends with Eddie and he comes with the hedge clippers in her eye and he goes snap. It's like almost
Yeah,
like a point of view and then you see the snap. I was like,
yeah,
yeah, that's good. And then Eddie's kill, the leather strap around his eyes. Now I know people pick out the movie mistake. He's turning to clockwise and he's turning to counterclockwise. So, yeah, that's just a movie mistake, but that's a horrible way to die. We've discussed this in the past with horror movies. I either put myself in the position of the killer or the victim. Like, how much would it suck to be killed that way? And just like with the hedge clippers in the eyes and the snap, because you're not dead yet. And then just, ugh. And then the leather strap just squeezing your head. The kills are great in it. I think this film has heart.
mhm,
I like the raw emotion to the kills. Something felt different watching this film for the first time. You weren't sure if it was Jason or not. And I remember thinking, I was like, these kills feel a little bit more raw. There's more emotion. It's not just, okay, me kill people having sex. There was like, no, there was like more anger. And then after that, when you find out that it was Roy at the end, it kind of makes sense,
mhm,
with
mhm.
that. So I think there's a lot of rawness into it. Other than that, a lot of the characters are forgettable. I mean, Reggie is cool, and of course, Demon, ooh baby, he's great. But yeah, it just the rest. Violet was kind of cool, the little robot chick, but
Mhm.
I don't remember any other characters.
You know,
But I admire what this film tried to do,
yeah,
and I gotta give it credit for having a lot of heart for
yeah.
a Friday film.
That's it. Heart for Friday the 15th, part 5. That's kind of a hot take, I would say, because a lot of people kind of look at this one as like the smutty one, right? Like,
Well, it was I think it was a porn director who directed it. He had done a lot of adult films, so
so they weren't wrong. Listen, yeah, look, I mean, this had lots of kills, lots of bloody kills, lots of nudity. It was like a teenager's fantasy growing up. Like as far as like this is
mhm.
it. Like I remember I had a friend who loved part 5 the most, and those were the reasons, right? Didn't care about Jason, he didn't care about like Friday the 13th, but entertainment value, it sure had it. I really like part 5. Again, when I was younger, I didn't, but, I really love it. It still has, like, the score that mimics the early ones and the feel and the look. The last of it, for the most part, because part 6 really changed the direction. I thought part 5 was one thing that really bothers me about part 5 was the whole climax is happening, and, Pam and Reggie are like, they're almost, out of options, and Jason's about to corner them. Then there's that point where they're like, Tommy, like Reggie spots Tommy at the barn, and Tommy's standing there, and he's ready to go, and you're like, okay, let's see this, let's have at it, let's go, and basically Tommy just stands there until Jason swats at him, and that's it. Tommy did nothing in that final
He was so
battle.
inconsequential to the entire film almost.
He really was. You could take Tommy out of it, and it, but that was a missed moment. That was like, okay, Tommy's there. Let's see what's gonna
And
happen.
you
Like,
seen him blow up early in the film when he body slams that guy at
for
the table,
sure.
like, "Oh, Tommy's on edge." Like, yeah, he's ready.
Yeah, you're like, this is Kung Fu Tommy. Like he's like he came to fight. and he literally lets Jason walk right up to him, and Jason botches the kill because he had him right there. But anyways, a little bit disappointed on that ending, but I'm going to give part 5, it's number 6 on my list. So
Also agree.
yeah, it's the halfway point, and we are into the final quarter of films. Friday the 13th. Oh, Friday the 13th, part 5, Rotten Tomatoes. I'm gonna assume it's towards the bottom. Not so much. Okay, so Friday the 13th, part 5 is a tomato meter of 15% and a popcorn meter of 26%. We move on to Friday the 13th, the final
Mm.
chapter. And let's see, here we go. Tags for this one. Wow, there's quite a few. Uh, this is the one you've been screaming for.
Mm.
Uh, Jason is back, and this is the one you've been screaming for. Sorry, I thought I was reading that for the second time. And 3 times before, I feel like this is made up. 3 times before, you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror, but this is the one you've been screaming for. So basically, they started with that and then
That's a
chopped it
breath.
into a few pieces. I'd never heard any of these. I don't know. You? No?
I think the one you've been screaming for, I may have seen,
Okay. All
but all
right.
that other is just okay.
um, okay, released April 15th, 1984, budget of $2.6 million, gross of $32.9 million, a big one. Opening weekend of 11.1 million and a worldwide gross of $33 million. These numbers are I hate reading these numbers sometimes because nowadays that means nothing. $32 million on a box office does not
That's
really.
somebody's actor's bill. That's what they're getting
Exactly,
get paid.
exactly. So, like, I don't have the, adjusted for inflation. Maybe we could do an episode where we talk about that, but that's, believe me, back in the day, that was huge numbers for Friday the 13th Part
Especially in
4,
the '80s, like '84, shoot.
for sure. How about it?
Alright. Probably not so much a surprise. I've got this number 2. It's a really great movie. I think a lot of people would go back and forth between number 6 and number 4 as their top 2. They're widely very popular films because 'cause they're great. You get the intro of, Tommy Jarvis. Again, I love the characters. I love this group of characters. They're on their way up there just for a time partying in the cabin. You got Crispin Glover, good old George McFly from, Back to the Future. He's like, I'm a dead fuck. So it's a fun group of characters, good banter, great chemistry between them. The introduction of Tommy Jarvis. I like the little family next door, mom, daughter. We get Corey Feldman. Lord knows what he would turn into. But we could do a whole episode on him.
Let's
But,
get him for an interview.
yeah, that would dude, that'd be choice, I ain't gonna lie. But, yeah, it's a great film. Jason, is just vicious. Ted is great. Ted White, I think, is, who played him in this one. He's evil and angry, and he's like, "Yep, I didn't like Corey Feldman. I hated that little shit." And you could see it, like, when he's chasing him. For a young actor, kid looked terrified. I thought he did great. And that ending sequence is just visceral. I mean, it's a little goofy. Okay, let me stop this guy trying to kill my sister while she's being chased around the house. Okay, let me go shave my head. Like, okay, I see past
Cerebral.
that. Yeah, it's like, oh, I recognize myself.
Yeah.
It's got so much else going for it. The cast of characters, the kills in it. I love the twins. They're just gorgeous. The entire film, very smart script, funny in the right moments, scary in the right moments. And that ending with the head slot, it's still to this day, if you're doing a class on special effects, yep, watch this. And
Mhm.
just the way you see the head slotting down a machete, oh, he's really dead. And that I gotta give Corey Feldman credit. That anger hacking him to death, and then the sister's like, Tommy, Tommy, trying to get him to stop. It's got a lot of emotion. And there's a lot of
Nice.
rawness at the end of this film is why I enjoy it so much. So it's one of the final, I mean, one of the best Friday films by far. So yeah, number 2.
All right. Yeah, definitely. We said at the beginning of this, like, people have different number ones on their on top of their Friday list. I think if you do a consensus, I think this one would probably be number one for most people. Great film. Love the kills in this film. Tom Savini, came back and just, I mean, they're just so fun to watch.
Hey Ted,
And
where's the corkscrew? And then
like, it just everything just was so intense, and then the funny parts were funny, the characters were good. Just so much worked for Friday the 13th Part
yeah,
4. The setting was really cool. It was dark, but it was not like, cold like in Part 7, and a wicked, kill for Jason at the end, which is what you wanted, but an amazing chase scene when he's chasing Trish and she's like, you could tell she's freaked out in real life, screaming, like, and it was just like, and I just want to give props to Ted White, who is, I love King Hodder, but, Ted White is my favorite Jason
cool.
actor. I thought, like, he nailed the aggression, and, like, you couldn't see through the mask, but you knew he was pissed. In some of the other films, he
Yeah,
just kind of looks like he's just,
yeah.
I'm going to kill you. I'll get you. Don't worry. This one looked like, I am going to kill you. And
Mhm.
it showed, and I love that. And it was just like he was messy from part 3, the blood, just so
Yeah,
much
that
going
anger
for
is
it.
a good yeah, that anger is a good point. I never
Yeah.
I look at it and be like, "Yeah," he's like, "Mother, what you" because he's
Yeah,
like,
right?
yeah.
Like, like he does the staged, like, Crispin Glover, like, on the door, like he nails him to the door. He's like, oh, this is gonna scare the guy or the girl, and it did. And then when he has to go through, he's like, get the out of my way. He just rips it down. Like, it's unbelievable. Ted White, like, God rest his soul, killed in Friday the Part 4.
Mhm.
That's a tagline. Loved it. Uh but number 5 on my list.
Okay.
So this is where it gets juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great film, but I do have it 5 because I do like some other films a little bit more. And
And see,
final
that's
ch
the thing, because sometimes, like, in other lists, like, 5 you think 5 or 6 would be low. I'm like, "No, when I have so much passion and love for the others, you gotta rank a movie that I would put on right now and watch it, no issue, straight through
yes.
and be happy as can be, could be my number 6 movie."
And I'll say this, we've ripped on a lot of Friday the 13th films, and rightfully so. But I will say this, my opinion, parts 1 through 6 are solid as you can get in a horror franchise. And you might say, okay, 5 is a little bit, weak, or some people will rag on 3. Some people might not like 1 because Jason's not in it. But overall, for me, if you even take parts 1 through 4, this is like solid as like 4 films can possibly get. And then, okay, again, a little bit of a dip with 5. And then you
Yep.
bring 6 in there. Why I love Friday the 13th, the series is because, like, yes, it has some lows. I don't watch those, but the highs, I'm like all in. And so, there's definitely a dividing line where, yeah, okay, part 4 is 5, but I love 5. I love that 5th film, like, the 5th film on my list. Now
So
it's
look
getting
at
to
it this way, so you get all the horror franchises that have 6 or more films, and you take the first 6 of every horror franchise out there, Friday the 13th is gonna be near the top of that list,
yeah.
as far
Uh,
as continuity and quality. It beats
absolutely.
Halloween for sure.
Mhm,
I don't know about
mhm.
Chucky, because Chucky's my
That's your
jam,
guy. Okay, listen,
but
everybody's got their
but definitely at the top of anybody's list. If you take the first 6 films of any horror franchise,
if you're
for
being
quality alone,
unbiased.
Friday the 13th's gotta be at the top.
Yeah, if you're being unbiased and, like, again,
Yes.
obviously I'm a Friday fan, but I will at times, admit, like, I'm not, like, gonna say this franchise does no wrong. Well, I'm not a Halloween fan. Halloween fans can be a little bit like that, where, like, they'll
Really.
they'll defend every film like it's like, it's
Well, look at the 6th Nightmare on Elm Street film. Freddy's Dead is the worst piece of trash ever made. I don't feel that w you can't t say that about the first 6 films on Friday.
no, no, absolutely not. But and we'll get into comparisons. Maybe that'll be a fun episode down the road too. We'll get into the comparisons. But all right. So Friday the 13th Part 6 on the tomato meter. Well, no, 6? No, Part 4. Sorry. Final chapter was 25% on the tomato meter, and popcorn meter 52%. So a pretty high tomato meter for, again, grading on a curve here. So we are down to the final three.
Hmm.
Friday the 13th, part three. Did I give my? I did give my ranking. Friday the
Yeah.
13th, part three, 3D, A New Dimension in Terror, released April 15th, 1982, budget 2.3 million, a gross of 36.6 million, and weekend box office of 9.4 million, and same thing for the worldwide 37 million basically, which was very high. Friday the 13th 3 did very, very
Yeah.
well. Very, very polarizing film. Let's see what Uncle Pete has to say.
I've got the new dimension at number 5, and I do like that tagline thing about it. So I have it number 5, but then again, I'm not a fan of the 3D aspects in it because now when you I think 3D is a little overrated because it's not
Mhm,
really like coming and hitting. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a little forward. And
mhm,
back then, those were the red and blue tinted, 3D glasses. But that aside, I mean, he gets his mask and he gets his look. I like how he's like, oh, I got to get new clothes. So from the end of number 2, so you see the trousers and the green shirt hanging on the rack that he pulls down, and then he gets his mask from one of my most hated characters in horror, Shelley. That's why one of the things I don't like about this film. But I mean, great kills to me. My notes, I put great '80s slasher. I like to think about, okay, what's it like? What it'd be like seeing this film in 1982? I was 5 years old back then, so I wouldn't have known. But going to the theater to see, a slasher like this in the early '80s, where you ain't seen it all yet.
mhm,
A lot of this stuff where these kills are really inventive. So I was like, back then it was probably pretty killer. Love the soundtrack. You get that
mhm.
classic soundtrack, the with
Dun,
the
dun, dun,
disco theme, kind of, or like no synth,
dun,
a little
dun,
bit of
dun,
a
dun,
synth theme to it. It's really
dun, dun, dun,
fantastic.
dun.
So yeah, I'm not the greatest film of the bunch. I just like the other ones a little bit more. And again, these are not easy to rank because tomorrow I may choose A New Beginning over Friday the 13th Part 3. But I got a number 5 right now because I think it's a great. If you want to talk about that first trilogy, is pretty solid in itself. The
Yeah,
continuity is great. You know, the way it all works in together. 3D is a little hokey, but I
yeah,
can look past that. So yeah, a
yeah,
pretty solid number 5.
yeah. I'm the same way. Like I could look past the 3D. Like I can
Here's
handle
a
that.
yo-yo.
Yeah, yeah, it just is what it is, right? But I love the cast of this film. I think this is the best looking cast. The girls in this film, I love. I love the setting, even though it wasn't a camp. Like it's funny because it was a departure from like being on campgrounds. But and as a kid, I usually would have like you know really pissed about that. I wasn't with this. I thought I loved the farm. I loved like that whole vibe. It felt like
The
me
barn
and
had
my
a cool
friends going away. Like they're juggling by the fireplace and just like kind of chilling out and stuff. They had that realism of like, for someone like myself who goes to cottages and,
mhm,
hangs out with friends and stuff. So I like the feel that part three had, the small town, the grocery store. Is this your rubber? It had some like kind of like funny little things in it. Throwing in a biker gang was kind of random, but I don't know, like it kind of worked. I definitely, this is the iconic, look that came together. And while Ted White was my favorite Jason actor, I love the look of Jason in part three the
mhm.
most. Just something about it. I love the face. It was mutilated, but not so mutilated that, it was looked off-putting. So I really love that. And this is the film that actually got me into Friday the 13th. Not that I was the first one I watched, but when I was younger and I was fascinated with horror films, but I never really watched them. I remember flipping the back of the Friday the 13th box, and it always had that picture of him reaching in through the car and trying to grab Chris
Yeah,
and it just his bald head and the mask, it did something for me, man. I was just like, what is behind that mask? What is he doing? Like, what is this guy all about? So Friday the 13th part three is very sentimental for me. And for that reason, it is number two on my
cool.
list.
Similar part, like, I remember from a kid when the biker chick is swinging on just having a time of her life, swinging back and
Whee!
forth,
This
and
feels
then
good.
without a sound, she's gone, and then
Mm,
I try and listen, I was like, and
yeah.
without a sound, she's gone, and then you just see the rope go because your mind fills in the
Yeah.
blanks,
Yeah.
and that's such a beautifully shot scene
Yeah.
that your mind fills in the blanks on what happened, and that's how you get that terror,
Yeah.
that fear, and that's what I love about that movie.
Yeah. Great, great stuff. And a great kill. Jason axe to the head. Like, I mean, that was beautiful.
And that slash is in, like, every other
Yeah.
little
That's the
track.
one continuity thing. I mean, it's funny about, and we'll talk about this, but like all the things that, Friday 13th, like the gets the continuity wrong. They get the whole designs right all the time. And then that axe, it's like, it's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Okay. Tomato meter, 14% got destroyed.
Ooh,
Probably the lowest, and popcorn meter of 42%. Come on, fans, get
that's a
on
little
there and
low.
yeah, that's very low, and I think but I do know a lot of people that definitely think this one's a little bit out there, and could it be the fact that it's, the 3D stuff, but I don't know. Moving on to part 2. All right. The Body Count continues. Released May 3rd, 1981. A budget of $1.25 million. US and Canadian gross of 21.7 million. Same thing for the worldwide gross and an opening weekend of 6.4 million. Part 2. Uncle Pete.
Number 4, and I love this film. It's a high number 4, and I think when we did Horror Face Off, I said this for number 2 when I went on my little rant. I was like, "Getting drunk can save your life because Ted stays at the bar and does not get killed." I just love that about the film. Ted stays at the bar, doesn't get killed. Ginny, close to my favorite final girl. Ginny is just beautiful, she's strong, she plants seeds in the beginning of the film with her psychology, how she uses it to defeat Jason at the end. So well written. Some of my favorite kills when Jeff and Sandra are mid sex and she's looking up, like trying to get him to like, hey, this, but she's just moaning. So he's like probably thinking, like, yeah, man, I'm feeling good. And then Jason kills him. Is there a better way to die? If I had to choose, I would go out that way. And one of my favorite kills from the franchise is Mark's in the wheelchair
Yeah.
because he's just standing there. You see the back of his head,
Yeah.
and then you see him go down. The
It's
stuntman
just,
did that
it's
wasn't a dummy. I think
mean.
it was just yeah,
It's
exactly.
mean.
It's just one of my favorite kills in the franchise, and like yeah, Jason is just mean in this
Yeah.
one, like you
I like how
said.
it just goes to it fades to white, right? Like it's a total and it freeze frames like, it's just unsettling in every
Yeah.
way. Like it's just so cool. It's such a
And,
great
like,
scene.
again, Sack Jason is underrated. I think
Yeah.
it's got that Town I Dread at Sundown feel to it,
Yeah.
another film that I love, so I love Sack Jason. They should have done that. I would if they kept that for the remake, I would have been happy, or in number 8, if they put the sack on, it would have been a better movie. But,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 has got so much going great for it. I mean, it was introduction of Jason. It's
Yeah.
our we finally get to see Jason as though getting revenge for
Yeah.
the death of his mom, that he's gonna go kill her months later,
Hmm.
put the head in the fridge. Again, the continuity is really solid. This half of the franchise,
Yeah.
continuity is really solid. You see me glowing over it, but it's a high number 4. I love part 2.
Nice, nice. All right, I love part 2 as well. I thought it continued beautifully from part 1. I thought, like, offing survivor of the first one, like, it was a shock. It was like, "Whoa,
Yes.
okay, that happened? Okay, where are we going now? Like, what's happening?" And then I thought the camp that they used for this was just like it looked like a great summer camp. They
Mhm.
they really explore, okay, we don't have kids, but this is the setup. We're like setting up for camp, right? So there's barbecuing, there's going to the bar, it just really created a great world. And like, and I thought that was amazing. Like, it had characters in there that, they disappeared after. They just, they went to the bar, or they didn't get killed. Like, it was a little bit, it was realistic, like, and great final girl, little bit of, uncertainty, like, does Paul live? Does Paul die? Was there like dream was that like, the dog, like there's a few questions
Yeah.
in there. I thought, the sack was great. I like how Jason was like grown, but not like, what he grows up to be. So it's kind of like an escalation of like, Jason sizes. And yeah, and part two ranks number three on my list.
And,
And
to tag on, you said there's a believability to this Jason. He's
yeah,
not 7 feet tall and 300 pounds, rock
yeah.
solid.
And he's
No, it's
clumsy. He's clumsy,
yes.
right? He'll fall off a chair. He'll like, it's
Yeah,
like,
like, this Jason is and to me, like, the more believable a horror movie is, the more scared you get.
yeah,
Like, I'm not some dream demon is not gonna come kill me in my dreams, but this guy with the sack over his head who's deformed can easily come kill me in the middle of the night.
yeah,
So it's got that believability to it with this Jason.
100%. Tomato meter of 36% and a popcorn meter of 49%. That brings us to the last film that we are going to be talking about today. And before we move on, I do want to say again, just for those of you who might be interested, Slick Slomopovich of Cabin 6, his favorite Friday the 13th was Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I know.
Cool.
Yes, Slick's a wild card. Anyways, Friday the 13th, part one. They were warned, they're doomed. And on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them. Nothing. Not even an ascot. That was not in the tagline, but that's Mr. Christie. Okay. Box office and release information. Released May 11th, 1980, a budget of $550,000. I've heard different things about that budget, up to a million and stuff like that. But, anyways, um, the gross in US and Canada was 39.7 million, same worldwide, and opening weekend was 5 million. Again, almost 6 billion. These numbers are not representative of the impact that it made on the box office. This was, I think, number one until Empire Strikes Back took it
Oh,
over.
geez, yeah.
So, just to give you a little bit of perspective of what Friday the 13th did in that year, and then it birthed the series. It birthed a slasher
Yeah.
genre that's like no other film before it. Pete, you're up.
I love this film. I have it ranked number 3. That's a high 3. A few years ago, I had the benefit my local theater was showing this. I was like, "Oh, I was 3 years old when that came out." I was blown away by the sound design, hearing the rain in the background, just a at home theater, you don't really get it, but in a theater, putting myself back in 1980, I felt like I had that fear, which is weird. I'm in my 40s and I had this fear of being in a theater watching because just the sound design, the way it would just the score is just so beautiful. Tom Savini, enough
Hmm.
said. I mean, Tom Savini kills, enough said. Great mystery, not knowing who the killer is. In
Yeah.
Halloween, you see the killer. All these other Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you see the killer. We have no clue who is doing the killing, male, female, whatever, until like the last 10 minutes. I love that mystery. That's got a great giallo feel to it. I
Hmm.
love giallo films. That has a great giallo feel to it, not knowing who the killer is. Like you really don't even see like hands or nothing
Yeah.
until like who's doing these killings. You just see these people's reactions compliment to the actors. Like you don't know what they're looking at. They just know fear. And like they were looking at Pamela terrified this entire time. So it all ties in. It's such a great film. I love the only thing if I do gotta nitpick anything, Pamela's a little bit overpowered. And like at the end when the body gets thrown through the window,
Hmm.
sorry, Pamela Voorhees, who probably weighed like a buck 10, didn't throw that body through the window. But you got to suspend disbelief. But then you can add into your mind, hey, were there two killers? Was Jason, again,
Yeah.
it lets your mind go, which is great about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it started all. They made this movie to jump on the train from John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
way to follow up Halloween with who would have thought this movie would last, hopefully 13
Yeah.
movies later. It says a lot. It really is well done. Just like I said, the whole mystery of it. It's just a beautiful movie.
Yeah. I'm not. I'll say that this is my number 1 on my list,
Yep.
and I'm going to go into why. Obviously, great setting, love the camp. It looks like a real real woodsy camp and, something that yeah, the sound design, like, the loons and and obviously the everything was just like which everybody knows that sound from Friday the 13th, but I don't think it gets the credit it actually deserves. It's, like, pretty unique. And whether you like it or not, like, I mean, it's pretty, iconic in itself. I'm fumbling pens here because I'm so excited. I love the suspense aspect of it and how you didn't know. I hate when people say I don't like it because Jason's not the killer. I'm like, that to me, it's like saying like, movie no good too long. Like it's like I don't hate hate that ever say that to me. I get it if you want to see Jason, but if that's the one reason why you don't like the film, like, come on. Um, one thing that really bothers me is, a lot of people will say it's a ripoff of Halloween. And even Victor Miller, who wrote this, says it's a direct ripoff of Halloween.
Yeah.
And I think he's wrong. Like, and I'm literally gonna call him wrong because while it took, like I think you said, it kind of it jumped on the train that Halloween left the station with here. Like Halloween, like mysterious. Like so, you had no idea who the killer
Mhm.
was. Like you said, Michael Myers was established right off the hop. A shock ending, like again, because it was the reveal, right? You knew all along in Halloween what the deal was. Um, it had a lot of popcorn kills. Halloween didn't have a lot of slasher kills and stuff like that. Friday the
No, he
13th had a
choked some girls.
yeah, like, and in the car, like, when he kills Nancy, yeah,
Annie.
like, I mean, you hardly see what happens, right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
so that didn't there was a seclusion element to Friday the 13th. There was like I don't know, like, I mean, for me to consider that a ripoff, I think that it really undermines Friday the 13th. I don't think so at all. And I know Victor Miller has said it. I think he's wrong. Now he may have gotten inspired by by
Mm.
Halloween. I get that for sure. But this was its own thing. And I will say this: if you actually, I'll save this for another episode. There's a tease there for you. But um, I love Friday 13th Part 1 the most because I think it's cold in the right way,
Mhm.
it's, dark in the right way, and it's got charm. I think, maybe it could have fleshed out the leading lady a little bit better. I think if we're gonna give it a little bit more runtime, maybe that could have been the case. But other than that, it had me, and it took years for this one to become number 1 on my list.
Yeah, it grew with me.
Yeah, like, when I was a kid, obviously, I did say, "Hey, Jason has to be in it," right? I get it.
Well, I've
But
heard people say it's the worst one, that they would rank it last. I was like, "That's a
I've heard that too.
stretch.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and in that
That's much.
yeah,
That's saying a lot." And one thing I like about it, it's got a red herring because it keeps you guessing, the
it
whole
does.
mystery of it. Name of our podcast is the Crazy Ralph Podcast. You've got Crazy Ralph. So it's like, "Oh, it's
Yeah,
got a death curse."
yeah.
And that alone is gonna give you goosebumps,
The lore is set up so beautifully. Like, that truck driver just going over all these things. You're like, how can the water go bad? Like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? Like, so there's so much lore to Friday the 13th, like right off the hop, that I really believe that this is a misunderstood film. And if nothing else, if it's not misunderstood, it is underappreciated for how good it is. And I will die on that hill. Friday the 13th Part 1 is my number 1. And I will look up its tomato rankings. Not that it really it really matters,
our
but
rankings were pretty similar, nothing too far, like, wacky
no,
up.
no. Now this one was the highest, I think, tomato meter 68% and a
Yeah.
popcorn meter of 60%. So the critics actually were a little bit closer to the fans in this one, but actually exceeded the fans. There we go. There's an example. But at the same time, it still had a pretty consistently higher actually not consistently, just a higher ranking for fans.
And it's
But
just crazy because Tom Savini didn't wanna do a part 2 because he's like, "The movie's done." He's like, "The
yeah,
story's over." It's
yeah.
like, "What do you do?"
And he did The Burning, right? Which was another camp film,
Another
but
yeah, fantastic camp film.
it is a fun film. So there it is. That's the list. We will post the lists so you can see them there. I will definitely write it in the body there. So tell us whose list you agree with more. I mean, this is like finite picking here because we do agree very closely on a lot.
Yes.
But more importantly, write your list. I
Yeah.
really am curious to know how yours ranks because again, unlike a lot of other franchises, this one can vary, and it's
Yeah, if you think
so
we're off the plot, if I'm off the plot or Jason's up, like, what the how the heck? Let me know. This is what I love about discussion with horror because
yeah,
really no wrong answer. It's just like we all like different things.
opinion.
So if you love Jason Goes to Hell for whatever for your reasons, let us know. I'd love to read it.
Absolutely. And on our next episode, we are going to talk about one of the greatest things about Friday the 13th and the franchise, one of the most beloved things, and what makes it so charming in many, many ways. The Friday the 13th locations. We're going to break down the locations of several of the films. I don't know if we'll cover all of them. I don't think there's a need to cover them all, but maybe we'll get in there on a few.
We got to talk about Vancouver.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get into that. Again, subscribe on YouTube and watch
Yep.
us on YouTube. Listen to us wherever podcasts can be taken in. And
Share this around with your friends. Horror is a great community, so share this around, repost this, tell people
exactly.
about it. Like, hey, just two guys talking Friday. All Friday fan clubs out there. If you know, let's share this around.
Absolutely. And until the next episode, we will see you well on social media, hopefully.
Yep.
But thanks for joining us and we'll talk soon.
Take it easy.